Mike with Rabblevid here at rabblevid.com, and interesting enough about this voting polling place, unlike the others I was at earlier today, there seems to be some confusion. There seems to be some citizens not exactly too thrilled about the voting environment here on Pittsburgh's Mount Washington. As I told you in the earlier video, it is located at an old church on Pittsburgh Mount Washington. However, and this is the front door where you're going to go in to vote, I will take you on a walk. As you see, I'm walking, and as we keep going up the driveway, I'm just going to show you as these two go up the driveway. I actually did ask them. They declined to be on camera about voting. I asked about 5-6 people who declined to be on camera. I've yet to have anyone willing to do an interview here. But as you see them walking up that driveway, they're going to make a left. And then there's going to be a big sign that says voter polling place. I'll take you up on this walk with me. The reason why I'm doing this, despite not getting any interviews, I still feel this is definitely relevant information that these voters are having to walk a distance from the sign that is not necessarily that clear in their opinion. Many people, before they even knew I was with media, were asking me questions about where they actually are going to go vote. I think they thought I might have been a volunteer here. As we are still walking, if you're still with me, this is where I was in the previous video across the street from this old church. Here is the sign. Now there is an arrow obviously pointing in the rear. It does kind of give them the direction. As you see there, Ward 18, District 5, Municipality Allegheny County. This is in the city of Pittsburgh on Pittsburgh's Mount Washington. Polls open at 7 a.m. all the way until 8 p.m. But as we walk back down to where they actually vote, as you can see, it is not next door. The other polling places that I've been at today, Veronica's been at today, and all of us at rabblevid.com have been at today, were relatively clear. You have a sign, you have a location, you go right in, you see some advertisements, you go vote, and maybe you speak with rabblevid.com or maybe you don't. This polling place here on Pittsburgh Mount Washington takes you on a journey. You see the sign, it does say in the rear, but even when we go down here, unlike the other polling places, there's nobody outside, there's no volunteers helping direct you, there's no signs, whether it be for Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, any of the independents. I saw signs at all the other voting places I was at. There are none here. You get a nice, beautiful view of the city of Pittsburgh. I'll say that. You get a nice, beautiful view of the city of Pittsburgh and that dumpster, as they're doing some construction all the time here on Pittsburgh Mount Washington. But this gentleman here walking in to vote, maybe I'll catch him when he comes out. But you see that door. There's no sign to signify this is where you go. I saw people go in there, walk out, because if you keep walking in there, and I will not walk in with you with media and on camera, but it's a pretty distance from even walking in there to actually get anybody who gives you any kind of direction and gives you kind of information in terms of where to go from there, in terms of this being the correct voting place. There's no signs in there from what I saw. There's really not as much assistance as at the other voting places I was at. And while these people are trying to exercise their right, their constitutional right to vote, this particular voting place here on Pittsburgh Mount Washington is not exactly bending over backwards to make it easy for them. There is a sign. I could read it, I could understand it. I'm sure some of you are going to say the same thing, but I did encounter a handful of people into double digits, over 10 people, that immediately complained about having to walk so far from that sign, not sure where to go once they walked all the way down there. There was a pregnant woman who declined to be on camera, but said that she didn't feel physically able to walk that far. She did make the journey, but she was huffing and puffing afterwards. She was concerned about it. There was a woman with a walker, there was a guy in a wheelchair, there were people on crutches, multiple people complaining about the situation, having to walk so far downhill to get in the door. Now, there are front doors of that old church. I'm unsure why they couldn't open them and let you walk through those front door, because having been in the church before, that front door would take you down to another set of stairs and you eventually can get down here to the basement. Not sure why they made you go all the way down here. Those front doors are locked. You cannot go in any other way other than walking all the way down this hill and then walking in. it is a relatively decent walk. That includes the elderly, that includes physically impaired, that includes handicapped, that includes pregnant women having to make this journey down a 90-degree angle hill that then curves and takes you into the building. So voters here on Pittsburgh's Mount Washington are complaining about the long journey from the initial sign of the old church until they actually get into the voting booth, and about the lack of direction and help at this particular voting place on Pittsburgh's Mount Washington. I've still not been able to get anybody willing to do an interview with me here at this voting place. I'm not sure if the anger they feel about the lack of direction and confusion is making them less interested to speak to the media, but a handful of people have declined to be interviewed. One person flip-flopped. They also said, maybe I'll do it if I don't have to say who I vote for, and I said, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to tell me who you're going to vote for, who you voted for. We can just talk about the importance of voting in this election. And after some thought, that person then once again declined. So I'm going to make one more pit stop and go to a voting place in Squirrel Hill that I've already heard some rumors has maybe the longest lines around Pittsburgh, and I'm sure more people complaining over there. But once again, to wrap up here on Mount Washington, an old church on Pittsburgh's Mount Washington. I believe this is on Bailey Avenue. I believe it's on Bailey Avenue. We're not far from Grandview, but we're not particularly on Grandview. Is home to a voter polling place. But in this voter polling place on Pittsburgh's Mount Washington, there are voters who are complaining, as I keep showing you the scenery here of the city, and you get a nice scenery, but they continuously complain about the lack of direction and confusion and the long walk from the initial sign of the front door all the way down to the basement. If you are voting today, and we hope you are because you want to exercise your right to vote, and you also want to exercise your right to send us videos, rabblevid.com, send us the news, send us videos of yourself at polling places, take a selfie, take a video of yourself with a thumbs up that you voted, talk to somebody else, any news stories at any of these voting places, record them, see it, shoot it, send it, get paid. You get $10 if we post that on rabblevid.com. If you get the most views of the month, you get $1,000, $10,000. It's an easy way to make some money, get involved, and to be a member of Rabble Nation. Keep on voting all the way through 8 p.m. tonight. All our coverage will stay through the night until there is some decision on who we believe is the next president and is the president-elect here on Election Day 2016. Most importantly, though, as you vote, remember, the Rabble Revolution is upon us.